The ground shook under Ethan's boots as the sky above turned, orange and black with smoke and fire. The alien attack had come faster than anyone expected. One moment, he was checking a sensor drone on a quiet jungle planet called Selar Prime. And the next, the trees around him exploded from a plasma strike. His team was gone, scattered or dead, and his cums were fried. He ran through the dense trees, heart pounding, holding his rifle close. Every shadow felt like it was watching him. He wasn't supposed to be alone on this mission. And yet here he was lost, hunted, and bleeding from a cut on his arm. The war between Earth and the insectoid Jaren had just begun. But Selar Prime was already burning. The Jaren were fast, deadly, and cruel. They had wings, claws, and eyes that glowed in the dark like hot coals. Ethan had seen what they did to prisoners. He had no intention of getting caught. As he pushed through a thick wall of glowing plants, he stumbled into a strange clearing. The air buzzed with a soft vibration, like music made of wings. In the center of the clearing stood a tall figure, still and glowing with golden lines over her body. She had the shape of a woman, but wasn't human. Her skin was honey-colored, and her eyes shimmered with amber light. She had antennae on her head, long and delicate, and her wings folded softly against her back. She was wearing strange, flowery armor made from some kind of living material that pulsed faintly with light. Ethan froze, lifting his rifle, but she didn't move. They stared at each other for a long second. She tilted her head like she was curious, not afraid, not angry, just curious. Then she took one slow step toward him, and the buzzing in the air grew louder. "Stay back," Ethan warned, keeping his aim steady. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to." She didn't answer with words, but something stirred in Ethan's mind, a soft touch like a whisper, not threatening, not painful. It felt like someone brushing their fingers across his thoughts. A connection. His grip on the rifle faltered just a little. "What are you doing?" She came closer, stopping just a few feet away. Then she reached out and gently touched his wounded arm. The moment her fingers met his skin, something strange happened. The buzzing stopped, the jungle went quiet, and Ethan felt a warmth rush through him like sunlight through ice. Her eyes widened as if she felt it too. Then she suddenly dropped to her knees in front of him, bowed her head, and spoke a single word in a soft voice. "Chosen." Ethan blinked. "What?" She looked up, and tears gathered in her glowing eyes. She reached up again, touching his chest lightly, then pressed her forehead against it, as if she needed to be close to him. "What is this?" Ethan whispered, not understanding. She clung to him like he was the only thing that mattered in the world. She wrapped her arms around his waist and stayed there, breathing slowly like she had found home. He should have pushed her away. She was an alien, a Jaren, but she didn't feel like a threat. She felt scared, tired, alone. Before he could speak again, a loud hiss came from the trees. A group of Jaren warriors appeared, armored and armed, their red eyes glowing with rage. They spotted the girl first, then saw Ethan, and let out sharp cries. They rushed forward, weapons raised. Ethan raised his rifle, but the alien girl moved faster. With one cry, her wings flared open, and a shield of golden energy spread from her back, covering both of them. Blasts hit the shield and bounced off harmlessly. The girl trembled but didn't move from Ethan's side. She looked up at him, desperate, and said again, "Chosen. Protect." Ethan understood then somehow. Something ancient in her people had reacted when he touched her. Maybe he'd triggered a biological bond, or some ritual he didn't know existed. But now to her he was important. He was hers. Jaren's soldiers hesitated outside the shield, clearly confused. Then one of them barked an order, and they began to circle the shield carefully. Ethan didn't know how long the girl could hold it. She was already sweating, her body shaking, her golden armor dimming. "We can't stay here," Ethan whispered. "Can you move?" She nodded weakly, her wings folding again. She stood, still holding onto him, and together they backed toward the jungle, away from the warriors. As they disappeared into the trees, Ethan glanced at the alien girl beside him. She didn't even know his name, and yet she was risking her life for him. Why? The forest swallowed them both, and the war thundered behind. Ethan moved quickly through the jungle, guiding the alien girl beside him as carefully as he could. Her steps were light, her wings folded tight against her back, but her breathing was shaky. She never let go of his arm, her fingers locked around his sleeve like she was afraid he would vanish. Behind them, the sounds of the Jaren warriors grew faint, but Ethan knew they were still hunting. The girl had saved him with her shield, but it wouldn't last forever. Whatever connection had formed between them, it had made her a target too. They stopped beside a moss-covered rock. Ethan lowered her gently to the ground. She looked pale now, the glow on her armor almost gone. He opened his small medkit, trying to help, but he didn't know what was normal for her kind. She looked at his face and spoke softly again. You touched. Now yours. Ethan shook his head. I didn't mean to choose anyone. I didn't even know what I was doing. She reached up and brushed his cheek, her expression calm but full of emotion. Not choice. Fate. I was waiting. You came, now I stay. He looked into her golden eyes and felt something strange again. It wasn't fear or confusion. It was a strange comfort, like she trusted him completely, even though they were from different worlds. I need to call for help, Ethan said, scanning the jungle with his broken device. But nothing's working. No signal. No power. We're on our own out here. The alien girl listened carefully, her antennae moving slowly. Then she tapped the ground and closed her eyes. The earth beneath them pulsed faintly with light for a second. What was that? Ethan asked. She opened her eyes and said, Hive. Maybe here, they far, but maybe feel me. Hive? He repeated. You have a hive? Like a colony? She nodded. Far Mountain, I ran, was not part anymore. I was waiting for you. Ethan didn't understand all of it, but he guessed she had left her people. Maybe she didn't belong to them anymore. Maybe touching him had changed her life in a way she couldn't take back. I don't know what this bond means, he said slowly, but I won't leave you behind. If they come for you, they'll have to come through me. Her wings twitched slightly at that, and she gave a tiny smile. I know, that's why I chose. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the trees. A sharp buzzing sound followed, louder than before. Ethan pulled the girl close and crouched down behind a log. A Jaren scout flew overhead, scanning the jungle with glowing eyes. Ethan held his breath. The girl placed a hand on his chest again, her body tense. The scout hovered for a moment, then moved on. Ethan whispered, We can't stay in the open. We need shelter. The girl nodded and stood weakly. Come, I know place. They traveled deeper into the jungle, pushing past vines and glowing plants. After some time, the trees opened into a narrow cave hidden behind thick roots. Inside, the air was cooler, and the sound of the war faded. Ethan helped her sit near the back of the cave. She curled up beside him, her wings relaxed now, resting on the ground like petals. He looked at her closely. Her armor looked like it had grown from her body, organic, not metal. She wasn't like the other Jaren warriors. She was smaller, softer, more human somehow. What's your name? He asked. She tilted her head. Name? Yes, what do they call you? She paused, then said slowly, Nira. That was my name before I left. You can call me that. Nira. Ethan repeated. I'm Ethan. She whispered it like a secret. Ethan. Outside, distant thunder cracked the sky, and flashes of light lit up the trees. The battle was still raging. Somewhere, soldiers were dying, ships were falling, and both sides were burning planets for victory. But inside the cave, it was quiet. Ethan leaned back against the wall, his rifle across his lap. Nira resting her head against his shoulder. Her breathing grew slower as sleep pulled her under. Ethan stayed awake. He didn't know what would come next. But for the first time since the war started, he didn't feel alone. There was something about the way she held on to him, the way she said chosen, that stayed in his mind. Maybe he didn't understand it yet. But something important had happened, and someone out there was going to come looking for her, maybe to bring her back to the hive, or maybe to destroy what she had become. Ethan tightened his grip on the rifle and watched the entrance of the cave. No one was going to take her without a fight. Ethan woke to the sound of quiet breathing against his chest. Nira was still sleeping, curled up beside him with her face resting just under his chin. Her wings glowed faintly in the dark cave, and her body was warm like sunlight through leaves. For a moment, he forgot there was a war outside. He forgot the Jaren were hunting him. All he could feel was her, this strange alien girl who had somehow bound herself to him after a single touch. But the moment faded when he heard movement outside. The cave, soft steps. Careful, creeping through the underbrush. He tightened his grip on the rifle and shifted his body without waking her. One set of footsteps turned into two, then three. Shadows flickered just beyond the entrance. Ethan stood, silent, and stepped forward until he was just inside the gap between the vines. A voice clicked in a harsh alien tongue. Jaren. Warriors. Maybe scouts, maybe trackers. They were searching again. He moved back quickly and shook Nira gently. Her eyes opened fast, golden and alert. She sat up and listened. Her antennae twitched. They follow, she whispered. How do they keep finding us? Ethan asked. She placed her hand on the floor again. They feel me. The bond made me bright. I shine in their minds now, like fire. Can you hide it? He asked. She looked down. Only if I break it, but if I break it, I die. Ethan stared at her. Die? Why? Nira touched her chest lightly. We bond once, if broken. Our energy fades. I gave myself. I am yours now, no going back. Ethan felt a deep knot tighten in his stomach. This wasn't a choice anymore. She had tied her life to his, and now the Jaren would never stop coming. We need to move again, he said. Do you have anywhere they won't follow? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. There is one place, forbidden to all Jaren. They fear it. Even the hive does not go there. Ethan nodded. Good, that's where we're going. They left the cave quickly, slipping through the dense forest as the sun rose through the smoke-filled sky. Birds and strange insects chirped overhead, but Ethan kept checking the trees, scanning for wings, eyes, or movement. As they walked, Nira explained more in her quiet voice. Long ago, her kind had lived in great cities made of living crystal, powered by the hive's energy. But something had gone wrong. One of the old queens had turned against the others. She had built a forbidden temple deep in the jungle and used dark energy to twist the bond. Now that place was cursed. Anyone who entered never came back. Why would we go there if it's cursed? Ethan asked. Because they fear it more than they fear you, she said, and I trust you more than I trust them. By midday, they reached a broken cliff overlooking a valley. Smoke and green mist curled below. A black spire rose from the jungle floor like a thorn, sharp and silent. Ethan stared at it. That's the place? Nira nodded. Yes, the old queen's temple. The Jaren do not come near, but maybe we can hide there. If the bond stays strong, the temple will not harm us. Let's hope that's true, he said. The climb down was rough, vines covered the rocks, and poisonous plants hissed if they got too close. Ethan cut a path with his blade, making sure Nira stayed behind him. They reached the ground and moved fast, keeping low through the twisted trees. The air changed as they got closer. It grew thick and cold, like it didn't belong to this world. The buzzing sounds from before were gone. Even the animals had vanished. At the base of the spire, they found an entrance covered in black moss and bones. Old bones, some insectoid, some humanoid. Ethan swallowed hard. You still sure about this? He asked. Nira stepped forward, her wings shivering. Yes, if we want to live. This is the only way. She reached out and placed her hand on the stone door. It pulsed once, a dim golden light flowing through the cracks. Then the door opened. With a deep groan, inside was dark, but not empty. The walls shimmered with strange symbols, and the air hummed softly, like it was alive. Ethan kept his weapon ready, his eyes moving fast. They entered a chamber at the center, shaped like a giant hive cell. In the middle stood a throne made of crystals and bone, and beside it, a small pool of glowing liquid. This is it, Nira whispered. The heart of the Forbiddens, the place of the lost queen. Ethan walked around slowly. Does it still have power? Yes, Nira said, but not like before. It's asleep, waiting for a bond pure enough to wake it. Maybe ours is strong enough. Do we want to wake it? Ethan asked. She looked at him with glowing eyes. If we want to survive, yes. If not, they will find us soon, and next time, they will bring more. As if her words were a signal, the ground shook slightly. Far above, Ethan heard the sound of wings, many wings. They were coming again, but this time, he wasn't going to run. He looked at the glowing pool, then at Nira, and made a choice. Let's wake the queen. Asterisk. Ethan knelt beside the glowing pool in the center of the chamber. The liquid inside shimmered like melted gold, soft waves of light moving across its surface. It didn't feel like normal water, it felt alive, like it was watching him. Nira stood behind him, quiet and still. Her wings twitched as if they felt pressure in the air. She looked at the old throne and whispered, "If you put your hand in, the temple will know. It will test you. What if it rejects me?" Ethan asked. "Then it destroys you," she said gently. "But I believe it won't. You are not like them." He looked at her for a long second. She had risked everything to bring him here, left her people, bonded her life to his, and now stood with him in a place even her kind feared. If she trusted him this much, he had to trust himself too. Ethan slowly reached out and dipped his hand into the pool. At first, the liquid was warm, then it turned cold, then hot, then something deeper like a vibration moving through his bones. A bright flash filled the chamber. Ethan shut his eyes as a surge of energy rushed through him. He felt thousands of thoughts, voices and memories pressing in like a whole hive's mind pouring into his skull. He saw images of an ancient queen, tall, proud, with wings like blades, sitting on the crystal throne. She had been betrayed by her own kind for growing too powerful, too different. They feared her bond to a creature from another world, just like Nira's bond to him. He gasped and pulled his hand out. Falling to the floor, Nira ran to him and held him close. "You saw her?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes, she was like you, but older, stronger. She bonded with someone like me. That's why they feared her. That's why they sealed this place." Nira's voice trembled. "Then it is true, the bond between Jaren and human is not wrong. It is rare, but it is real. You passed the test. The temple lives again." The golden liquid rose from the pool and floated into the air, swirling around them. It wrapped around Ethan and Nira like glowing smoke, then disappeared into their skin. The chamber lit up. The walls pulsed with life. The old symbols glowed brighter. Outside, the sound of wings grew louder. Dozens of Jaren soldiers were flying toward the spire, drawn by the temple's awakening. Ethan stood and grabbed his weapon. "They're here. How long until they reach us?" Nira stepped forward, eyes brighter than before. "Not long. But the temple can help us now. It recognizes our bond. It will protect us if we ask." "Ask how?" "Speak with your heart," she said softly. "The bond is alive now. Let it hear you." Ethan took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He thought of everything: the crash, the war, the fear, the jungle, the way Nira had held him that first night. He thought of her tears, her warmth, and the moment she said, "chosen." Like it meant everything. "I don't want power," he whispered aloud. "I just want to protect her. I want her safe. If this place has strength, give it to me so I can keep her safe. That's all I ask." The chamber responded. The walls trembled as golden light poured down from the ceiling, covering Ethan's body. His armor shifted, cracked, and changed. It became smoother, stronger, fitted perfectly to him, with the same golden glow as Nira's wings. She looked at him in awe. "You look like one of us, but also not. Then maybe they'll think twice before attacking," Ethan said. A heavy crash echoed from above. Jaren warriors landing at the entrance. Ethan raised his weapon and looked toward the tunnel. "Get behind me. If they want this bond broken, they'll have to go through both of us." But Nira stepped beside him, her wings unfolding fully. "No, I stand with you. I am not weak anymore." The temple woke something inside me too. Together, they walked toward the entrance as the warriors entered. Dozens of Jaren soldiers, fully armed, red-eyed and ready for a fight, stared at the two glowing figures standing before the ancient throne. Their leader stepped forward. A tall Jaren with heavy armor and a dark weapon. "Return the girl, end the bond, or be destroyed." Ethan aimed his rifle. "No, she's not going anywhere. And if you want her, you'll have to go through me." Nira's voice rang out behind him. "I am not yours to return. I chose him. That bond is mine to make." The Jaren hissed and raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the floor cracked beneath them. Vines burst from the walls, grabbing their legs. The temple itself was fighting back. Golden roots twisted up and dragged half the warriors into the walls. The rest screamed and tried to escape, but the doorway sealed shut. The leader growled and charged forward. Blade raised, but Ethan moved first. He met the alien in the center of the room. Steel and energy clashed in a flash of gold and red. The temple pulsed around them, answering Ethan's will with power and speed. In 3 strikes, the Jaren leader fell to the floor. The room went quiet. The remaining warriors stared in fear at Ethan and Nira, glowing side by side. They didn't chase them anymore. The temple had chosen its defenders. The Jaren warriors did not return after the battle. The survivors had fled the temple in silence, their eyes wide with fear, their wings trembling as they disappeared into the jungle sky. The temple had accepted Ethan and Nira, and now no one dared cross its borders. But Ethan knew it wouldn't last forever. Word would spread through the hive. They would call him a corruptor, a danger, a human who had touched what was never meant to be touched. And Nira, they would see her as a traitor. He sat near the edge of the glowing chamber, looking down at his new armor. It fit like a second skin, light and strong, gold streaks running through its surface like veins. The temple had changed him, but he was still human underneath. Nira sat beside him, silent for a long time. Her hand rested on his, and her head leaned gently against his shoulder. She looked calm, but he could feel the sadness behind her golden eyes. "They won't stop," she said quietly. "They'll come again. Not soldiers next time, leaders, the high minds. They will not fear the temple like the warriors did. They will bring pain." Ethan looked at her. "Then we fight them too, if we have to. We'll stop them, together." She shook her head slowly. "You don't understand. The bond. It grows. It pulls stronger with each passing moment. Soon, if I am hurt, you will feel. If you are wounded, I will suffer too." Ethan frowned. "So we're tied now? For real?" She nodded. "Yes, the temple made it complete. You are not just chosen now, you are one." Ethan didn't know what to say to that. He had never believed in fate or destiny, but now it lived in his blood and hers. He didn't ask for this bond, but he couldn't imagine letting her go either. That night, the temple glowed soft and warm. Nira fell asleep beside him again, curled up like before, her wings draped over him like a blanket. He stayed awake, thinking, watching the walls of the chamber pulse like a quiet heartbeat. The next day, the jungle outside was still and quiet. No buzzing, no movement. No sign of the Jaren, but Ethan knew better than to relax. He moved through the halls of the temple, learning its paths, testing its powers. The energy followed him now, lights blooming under his steps, doors opening at his touch. He stood in front of a tall mirror-like wall in one chamber, and it lit up, showing a glowing map of Selar Prime. Dots flickered: ships, forces, enemy patrols. The Jaren hive was spreading. They were planning something big. When he returned to the central room, Nira was awake, sitting on the throne. Her armor had changed again, sleeker, brighter, with lines running up her arms like veins of fire. She looked stronger, but sad. "I saw something," she said before he could speak. A vision in the walls, a memory of the old queen. She too had bonded with a human, long ago, but the hive feared the power it gave her. They attacked before the bond could grow fully. They destroyed everything. Ethan sat beside her. "So they'll try again. We already knew that." She turned to him. "Yes. But this time, the bond is deeper. The temple sees us not just as allies, but as heirs. It wants us to lead." He stared at her. "Lead what?" "The Jaren," she said softly. "Not all of them want war. Some are waiting for change. If we show strength, maybe they will follow. Not all will agree, but enough might." Ethan rubbed his face. "So you're saying we start a rebellion?" "No," she said. "We start a future, one they never expected. A future where Jaren and human do not fear each other. A new hive, a new bond." He looked at her glowing wings and the soft curve of her smile. She wasn't just a strange alien girl anymore. She was something more. A leader, a bridge, and maybe even the start of something beautiful. Then the temple trembled. A heavy, deep sound echoed from outside. Something massive had landed beyond the valley. Ethan ran to the outer tunnel and looked up at the sky. A Jaren mothership, black, wide as a mountain, crawling with weapons, was descending slowly. Nira appeared beside him. "It's the Queen Mother's ship, the one who rules the hive minds. She has come herself." "And what happens if we don't surrender?" Ethan asked. Nira's voice was steady. "She destroys everything. She will not let our bond live, not if it threatens her rule." Ethan looked at the golden light wrapped around his hands and arms. Then he looked at Nira. "Then we don't give her the chance. We end this. We make her see what we are, what we've become." Nira's wings opened wide. "And if she won't listen?" Ethan raised his rifle. "Then we fight for the right to exist. For the bond. For you." The temple roared around them as its energy began to rise. Lights blazed through the walls like veins of fire waking from sleep. And above, the sky darkened. As the hive's might came closer, the sky above Selar Prime turned black as the Queen Mother's ship covered the sun. Its shadow stretched over the valley, over the jungle, and over the ancient temple that had once belonged to the forgotten queen. Now, it belonged to Ethan and Nira. The temple shook again, its golden light growing stronger. Ethan stood at the entrance with his weapon ready, Nira at his side with her wings glowing like fire. They weren't just defending the bond now. They were standing for a future that never existed before. From the massive ship, a single drop pod launched and crashed into the ground like a meteor. The earth split, trees cracked, and a cloud of steam hissed out as the pod opened. The Queen Mother stepped out. She was tall, towering over even Ethan. Her wings were black and wide, her armor thick like a living fortress. Her eyes burned like dying stars, and her voice echoed without sound. "Give me the girl. End the bond. You are a virus. A mistake." Ethan stepped forward. "She's not yours. She chose me. That bond is real. And I'll protect it even from you." Nira walked to stand beside him, her hand in his. "I am not weak. I am not broken. I am whole with him." The Queen Mother raised a clawed hand. "Then you are nothing, and nothing will remain." With a wave, her ship fired. A bright beam of energy shot from above, aiming to erase the temple in one single strike. But the temple responded. Golden light shot up from the walls, forming a massive shield that caught the beam and pushed it back. The power of the old queen flowed through the stones, through Ethan and Nira, and into the sky. The queen mother snarled and leaped forward, her wings sending waves of force that knocked over trees. She charged at them with her blade drawn, moving faster than anything had ever seen. Ethan didn't back down. The temple's energy moved with him, his armor lit up, and his feet barely touched the ground as he met her head-on. Their weapons clashed in a burst of light. Nira flew above them, diving down with energy blasts from her hands, golden threads that wrapped around the Queen Mother's arms and slowed her attacks. The three of them clashed in the ruins, light and shadow colliding again and again. Ethan fought like a warrior, born, his body powered by the bond. Every move he made was matched by Nira's, like they shared the same thought. The Queen Mother screamed in rage, but it was more than anger, it was fear. She had ruled by controlling bonds, forcing them through fear and power. But this bond born from choice, not force, was something she couldn't break. Nira rose into the air, her wings wide, her body glowing brighter than ever. She reached for Ethan, and he reached for her. Their hands touched, and the temple itself exploded with golden light. A shockwave ripped through the ground, up into the sky, and slammed into the Queen Mother with all the force of the old hive's memory. She fell to her knees, screaming, her armor cracking. Ethan stepped forward. "This is your last chance. Leave, or see your power fall with you." Queen Mother looked up, her breath shallow. She stared at Nira, then at Ethan, and for the first time hesitated. "You have changed the hive," she whispered. "The old queen was right. I feared what I did not understand." Nira floated down beside Ethan. "And now?" The Queen Mother rose slowly, broken but alive. "Now, I return to the stars, but others will come. Others may not show mercy. Then we'll face them too," Ethan said. The Queen Mother looked at the bond between them one last time, then turned and vanished into the dark mist. Her ship lifted from the valley, disappearing into the clouds. Silence fell. The war, at least for now, was over. Days passed, and no more ships came. The hive's forces pulled back. Word spread through the jungle and beyond that a human and a Jaren had stood together, and the temple had chosen them. Some feared the bond, but others were inspired. Ethan stood at the top of the temple one morning, looking at the jungle spread out below. Nira joined him, her hand slipping into his with ease. "You still think it was a mistake?" she asked quietly. He smiled. "No, I think it was the beginning." She rested her head against his shoulder. "Then let's build something from it. A hive of peace." Together they watched the golden sun rise over Selar Prime, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as one.